What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer is now going to be taking us to Orlando, Florida. The bounce house is back and open. Central Florida is up next, and a familiar face who had tremendous success is back to coach this program. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate, and I want to thank y'all so much for clicking on this video and for helping to support the channel. If you would like to support the channel even further, please do what it says right below me. Hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell. Turning on notifications will ensure you don't miss an upload during prediction season, especially not one of your favorite team. I am a sports media professional, got a degree on the wall to prove it, and I just started my new job in the industry. You want to see all the cool stuff I get to do while still being up to date on what goes on this very YouTube channel, then please give me a follow. It's at TailgateNate29 on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it, and Instagram. You can even email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. I want to thank y'all so much for supporting and interacting with me or the channel in whatever way you may be doing so. And with all that said and done, let's get back to Orlando, where the bounce house is sure to be rocking again, because there is excitement and anticipation when Scott Frost is coming back to coach this program. Now, a lot has changed since Scott Frost helped UCF claim what they believe as a national championship in 2017 with the undefeated season, yet missing out in the playoff, whatever have you. They have the national championship thing. I like to put it in quotes. I know that can seem disrespectful. I'm not dissing the program. Claim whatever you want to claim, but again, UCF did not go win the national championship, the true national championship that season. And I honestly don't know a lot of Knights fans that actually really stake claim and believe in that national title. Again, you believe whatever you want to believe. Doesn't make a difference to me. The Scott Frost reign at his alma mater in Nebraska was very disappointing. It really was. And I know I could use a lot more extreme, bigger, more vulgar terminology. Let's just say it was very, very extremely disappointing, and he's got to clean himself up, but he's hoping to do so, come back to a program where a lot of building has to happen, but he's had a lot of success in the past. How do we preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are going to go through a roster overview where the offense is going to be over here to the left, the defense is going to be over here to the right, and at the end of the video, we are going to go through the UCF football schedule. I will give it a game-by-game preview and prediction, and this video overall will tell you what I think about the Knights here in 2025. Before we dive on into all the jargon going on around me, right down below, returning production numbers are according to ESPN, and they do factor in portal additions up to a certain percentage. Keep those in mind. We're going to come back to the returning production numbers a little bit later, and then the recruiting and transfer portal class ranks are according to 24/7 Sports for the class of 2025. Again, a portal class that brings in a ton of talent, not necessarily super highly ranked, which honestly surprised me. Usually when you see a team bring in as many transfers as UCF is, 40, 50 plus of them, to be exact, I know at very least 40 plus. It might very well even be in the 50 plus range, but at very least 40 transfers coming into this program, as Scott Frost is going to try to reset the foundation here with this program. And we're going to dive through things a little bit quicker than we usually do, because I've been rambling, but let's move on to the offense. Steve Cooper is going to be that offensive coordinator this year. And again, as I said, UCF is just going to be a rebuilt squad on both sides of the football. Last season in the quarterback room, KJ Jefferson, the former Arkansas Razorback, had some injury problems, had some inconsistency things. Just overall, again, not the best. When you go ahead and look, you do have Ja'Cory Brown that's going to be coming back to this team. Second leading passer in Dylan Risk. Hopefully I pronounced that last name correctly. He is also gone off of last season's team. Rebuilt quarterback group projected to be led by Indiana transfer Taven Jackson, also formerly of Tennessee. But again, there could be a quarterback battle with Ja'Cory Brown, a guy that's going to be coming back to this program, and Cam Fancher, who's coming over from Florida Atlantic, formerly of Marshall, where he has had some solid production, really needs to improve that touchdown to interception ratio. It's been 1-to-1. For every touchdown he's thrown a pick. Not a ratio that you want to see. If I were to go ahead and place any sort of vocal, this is who I think is going to start on it, I would probably end up going with Taven Jackson. I do think he overall is the most talented guy, especially for what Scott Frost wants to do, but it really wouldn't surprise me to see Brown or Fancher at very least get minutes, if not see some starting time at points this season. Now, running back room, stellar back RJ Harvey is now a Denver Bronco. He was a stud for this team. Stud, S-T-U-D, stud. He is amazing. 1,577 yards, 22 touchdowns on 6.8 yards per carry. Give me a break. He is simply phenomenal. However, Miles Montgomery last year, 293 yards, 3 touchdowns, was the second leading rusher among running backs last season. He's coming back, and then you do get a transfer coming over in Jaden Nixon, formerly of Oklahoma State and Western Michigan, has had some solid campaigns, and he looks to be running back 2 behind Miles Montgomery this upcoming season. Every single pass catching option, every single player that caught a pass for UCF last year, gone. Sorry, terrible snap, but gone. Out the door. Totally new pass catching room. That means wide receivers, tight ends, bam. All of it is brand new. All of it. Every single piece. Wideouts, tight ends, it's all gone. Transfers are going to get the majority of the production here. Now, there are some returning pieces, such as in the tight end room, Kylan Fox, the true sophomore, that does come back to the program. You do have Burdell Richardson that's going to be coming back to the program in the wide receiver room, particularly in the slot. But this is a room, I think everyone knows it. It's going to be led by transfers. You're going to have a guy coming over from Chattanooga and Chris Domerkant, who is a pretty solid weapon. DJ Black is coming over from Limestone College. I don't exactly know who that is, but he is formerly of South Carolina. You also do have Dwayne Thomas, who's going to be coming over from Charlotte, put up around 250 yards in 2023. Marcus Burke is an experienced redshirt senior transfer that comes over from Florida. And then a freshman in Waden Charles is going to be coming over here. Apologies if I did mispronounce that name, Charles, but he's going to be coming in here as well. And then when you take a look at the tight end room, also built by transfers, Dylan Wade is a guy that's going to be coming over from Maryland, where he had a really good season last year, 374 yards and a pair of touchdowns on 29 catches. For all you math nerds with your calculators handy, that's nearly 13 yards per reception. A guy that's projected to be leading this tight end room. And then when you talk about the offensive line, there are some good seniors that do return. Definitely the unit that has the most returning out of anywhere on the offensive side. But portal pieces are going to help build yet another unit. It's built pretty much every single room here, maybe aside from the running back room, because that foundation of Miles Montgomery is going to be coming back. But again, a good bulk of transfers are entering everywhere. In fact, according to ourlads.com, along with Montgomery and 2 starters on the offensive line, that's all the returning production projected to start. So remember I said these numbers factored in transfer portal additions up to a certain percentage? Again, a bulk of this production offensively is going to be built through the transfer portal. Quarterback, unless it's Ja'Cory Brown, it's going to be a transfer. Wide receiver, tight end, any pass catching option that's not named Miles Montgomery. New, entirely new to this program, entirely new to Scott Frost, entirely new to Steve Cooper, entirely new to everything. This is a program that overall has been left in a pretty rough spot since Gus Malzahn went to go take the offensive coordinator job over with Florida State. This is going to be an offense that needs a lot of building, and it needs a lot of meshing, and it needs a lot of things to work. But there is some good talent here when you switch on over and take a look at the defensive side. Now you get into another interesting conversation because you notice who the defensive coordinator is, Alex Grinch. By the way, he's built some really, really good defense, especially early on in his career. But as of late, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, and he's put some defenses out on the field that have just not been up to his standard and have not been up to what the program standard needs it to be. So this is a very, very interesting defensive coordinator hire. We'll see what happens with it, but he's going to bring a defense that is known as Speed D. It's going to play fast, it's going to be aggressive, and it's going to fly all over the field. That Speed D has let him down in the past because at times it gets too aggressive and then, oh, what's that? And big old play, a big run, big pass play, and just overall, not a lot of discipline, not a lot of things going in the right direction for Alex Grinch defenses in the past. He's going to need to turn that around and try to flip this defense into a pretty darn sizable contender after it's seen some struggles in the past couple of seasons. The defense as a whole loses a lot of major producers. Again, a side of the ball that's going to be built through the transfer portal. According to ourlads.com again, website that I like a lot. Only 4 projected starters are returning to this program from last season. The rest, transfers. Again, built through the transfer portal. Again, gaps built in through the portal. Nigel Kelly was originally not going to come back. He is one of few big time returners that's going to return up front. He is going to be coming back to the defensive line where he was a pretty integral part of the unit last season. Kelly off the edge, 53 tackles, had 5.5 sacks, and that did lead the team. Not by much, but it did lead the team. And there were some other pretty nice returners that are going to be coming back. Malachi Lawrence had 5 sacks for the team last year. He's a redshirt senior, now projected second stringer behind a transfer in Sincere Edwards, who, yeah, is probably going to end up getting that starting bid after playing some pretty darn good football over at Pitt. 17 tackles, had 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Really, really good weapon. That's going to probably end up starting there on the edge. Horace Lockett's another transfer that comes in, and John Walker is a returner that's projected to start. As far as the linebacking unit, it's going to be entirely built through the transfer portal. Jakari Henderson's a returner. Didn't necessarily play a super huge part in the defense last season. Again, the entire linebacking unit built through, or actually, sorry, Jakari Henderson, a defensive back. I was misreading the lines there. I thought what I was saying was wrong. This entire linebacking unit built through the portal. Lewis Carter, Kelly Lawson, Jaden McDonald, Cole Kozlowski, they are all transfers in the 2 deep. Even when you go into the 3 deep, you have Phil I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. Actually, I will. Give me 1 second. All right, here goes the good old college try. Phil Picciotti. Hopefully I said that last name correctly. Phil, if you're listening and I didn't, I'm so sorry. I'll take the heat for it. But again, the linebacking unit, that's just going to be built through the portal. Lewis Carter is formerly of Oklahoma. He had 23 tackles last season. You look at Kelly Lawson. He was at Virginia Tech where he had 40 tackles last year and doubled that production in 2023. Or I guess technically the way time works, he halved the production last year. We know what he's capable of, and again, the guys back there are pretty solid pieces as well. Again, a lot having to fit in. Transfer pieces are going to build a bulk of the defensive backfield. Now, Braden Marshall is a notable return. He's going to be coming back at the nickel position for UCF this season. Did have 22 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, had a pick, 3 passes defended last season. He'll be back to play the nickel, but again, just a ton of transfers. Now, Damari Henderson is a notable returner. Jakari Henderson, again, as I said, also a pretty sizable return as well. Jaden Bellamy is going to be transferring into the program. He's over from Syracuse, where he had 37 tackles, a pair of picks, and 6 passes defended last season. Philip Dunham, Isaiah Reed, and a plethora of other transfers are going to be in all over the defensive side of the ball. Also in special teams, transfers taking over the special teams unit. New punter, new place kicker. Everything is new. Offensively, new. Defensively, new. There's just a lot that's going to have to fit in, a lot that's going to have to mesh together, and a lot of coaching decisions that I think are going to have to mesh together as well. How much can Alex Grinch improve what he has done defensively in the past? What does Steve Cooper have from an offensive perspective? What does Scott Frost look like? Probably the biggest coaching question you can ask about this team right now. What is Scott Frost going to look like? Is it going to be a Nebraska type thing, or is it going to come back to what we saw at UCF in 2016, 2017, when they were cranking out undefeated seasons, when they were the G5 team to beat? Well, let's look at the schedule and see what they can do this year. There are just a ton of interesting conversations you can have about UCF this season. We're going to have some of them when we take a look at this schedule. Again, they do play in the Big 12 Conference. Before we take a look at this, though, and give this a game-by-game preview prediction, right down below your FanDuel odds. Again, courtesy of FanDuel, they just give you some context to how good the odds makers think UCF is going to be this season. Now, 5.5 win total is about where I would place the line on this UCF team, especially with how much unknown there is. But then when you talk about the odds, plus 100K in terms of going to win the national championship is the highest odds you can get. A lot's going to happen for this team to even make the college football playoff. But then plus 6,000 odds. Now, we've looked at other teams in other conferences, and they're not towards the bottom, even with odds as long as that. With the way the Big 12 is and how anybody can go win this thing any given year, that is the longest odds in the Big 12 Conference. UCF has been given the longest odds to go win the Big 12 at plus 6,000. first couple games for UCF, I really don't think are going to be too bad. Jacksonville State's going to have to try to fill in the gap that Rich Rodriguez has since left, and again made Jacksonville State a really successful FCS program, helped them in their transition to the FBS level. And Jacksonville State's got to be replacing a lot of pieces. Still could be one of the top contenders in Conference USA. I don't think they're going to compete at a super high level with the Power 4 squad in UCF. And then against North Carolina A&T, bam, there's another win for UCF there as well. So, okay, starting off the year 2-0, I think that should be expected. I think you should be expected to win these two games, and it's all about building from here. What does the team look like? How do pieces fit in? How do the transfers mesh together? A lot of really important questions are going to have to be asked about this UCF team. You do have an extra week here before a home game against North Carolina. Now, to me, this is one of the more fascinating games. While it's probably not going to end up leading to a lot of college football playoff discussion, and it's probably not going to be leading into a lot of conference championship type things, and these two teams probably might not finish anywhere close to getting to their respective conference championship games. This is a very interesting one to me because, look, you got a UCF team that's looking to build this program back up from where Gus Malzahn left it, and trying to, Scott Frost trying to fix himself and get back into coaching, while North Carolina is getting an NFL legend in Bill Belichick that has never coached college before and is coming in to try to establish his system with the Tar Heel program. This is just an absolutely fascinating matchup to me. And when I take a look at this game, there is just so much unknown on both sides. There's so much unknown with North Carolina. There's so much unknown with the logo that sits right behind me in UCF. I'm just going to default to picking the home side here. The bounce house is a tough place to play. Again, it's not me considering one team being more talented than the other. In fact, these two teams might at the end of the day prove to be pretty equally as talented. North Carolina is a team that I'm really excited to watch this season. I'm just going to go with the home side here. A lot of unknown on both sides to me. I think UCF is going to win this game. I think they win it close margin at home. And again, Bill Belichick might be scratching his head saying, okay, this is how the college game works, or something like that. UCF beats North Carolina at home. That's the big takeaway that you can get from my ramble there. Then you dive on into Big 12 play, and you get a tough one right out of the gate on the road against the Kansas State Wildcats, your first road game of the year, and I do think you'll lose that one. Avery Johnson's he really will drive that offense this year. He takes a step in the right direction, so will the offense. Last year, the secondary, a big point of contention. It's going to get better for Kansas State this season, and a defense that overall I still think is going to be pretty darn good. And again, Avery Johnson's got a lot of nice weapons surrounding him. Kansas State will be one of the top contenders in the Big 12 Conference this year. Kansas at home in the bounce house. I think Kansas bounces back this year. I think Jalen Daniels, especially if he stays healthy, is going to be a super dynamic weapon for this Kansas Jayhawk team. Defense has always been the concern. It's always been the problem. I think it starts to see some steps forward this season. Kansas is going to be playing on a new football field this year. I believe the renovations with their stadium are done, if not close to being done. I at very least did see their new turf, and I really like it. It looks nice. They will not be playing on it in this game, but they will win on the road against UCF. And then at Cincinnati. Cincinnati to me is that team that I look at in the Big 12 Conference, and I think, look, expected to take a nice step forward this season. I think they can really struggle with I just think that they can really struggle with a lot of the talent and a lot of the parity in the Big 12 Conference this year while still trying to get used to being a full Power 4 member. But I do believe Cincinnati's got enough pieces to win this game. And Cincinnati and Houston know this UCF program better than most. And again, Cincinnati was the transition team and took over for UCF when UCF started to fade and just not be that G5 team to be anymore. It became Cincinnati. So there is an interesting rivalry here between these two programs. I think Cincinnati wins the game. Brendan Sorsby is going to be coming back to play quarterback for him. I think he's got a lot of nice weapons surrounding him. You look at the defensive side, should improve. Scott Satterfield has got a little bit of a put up or shut up year, in my opinion, this season. And I think Cincinnati will be fairly competitive. I do think they win that one. It does not get much better here for UCF. I got you losing to West Virginia. Rich Rod back with the West Virginia Mountaineers. There's a pretty big theme here of coaches coming back to their former program. Scott Frost has done it here at UCF. Rich Rod is going to be doing it at West Virginia. And while it might take a little bit of time to see the sort of numbers that we saw out of West Virginia when Rich Rod was there the first time around in the early to mid thousands, I do think West Virginia is going to be a pretty solid team this season. I think they got a lot of good pieces. Nico Marchiol is a pretty solid quarterback. I like their running back, Jaheim White. Defensively, you're doing really well in the transfer portal there. And I think West Virginia, again, give it a minute for them to start seeing the results that they did the first time around with Rich Rod. But I think the foundation will be set at a pretty nice base level this season. I think West Virginia is a team that can make a bowl game, and that will be a loss for UCF. Okay, you get to take a breather. You get a bye week. You get to sit back and say, whew, okay, what do we need to do? Well, I don't know that there's much you can do on the road against Baylor after the bye week. Even without Ashton Hawkins, that wide receiver room is fantastic. Sawyer Robertson is that guy at the quarterback position. I think he's going to have an amazing season. They got two running backs back there that I think can get 1,000-yard seasons. The defense is really well coached under Dave Aranda. Watch out for the Bears in the Big 12 Conference this year. That is a loss for UCF. UCF is going to win a couple conference games this year. I think there's a little bit too much talent on the team not to. Scott Frost has been there, done that with this program before, especially against a team like Houston. Now, Houston's going to take a step forward this year. They're very well coached by Willie Fritz, and they got a lot of nice talent coming in through the transfer portal themselves. Connor Wigman's going to be taking over the quarterback position for him this season. However, again, there are moments where teams are going to succumb to the bounce house. It is also especially on these short weeks, these weekday games where road teams can really, really struggle. And I think UCF is going to put it to Houston. Well, I don't think they're going to beat them bad. I do think UCF is going to beat Houston. The Cougars falter on the road, and the Knights get their first conference win in 2025. However, you take a look, I don't think you're going to be beating Texas Tech. Way too much talent on that team. They did really well through the transfer portal, especially to build around their quarterback, Baron Morton, offensively. And when you take a look defensively, I mean, that defensive front, I can't think of a better unit to bring in through the transfer portal with all the pieces they brought in on the defensive front. Texas Tech gonna win a lot of football games this year, much like Kansas State. They are one of my front runners in the Big 12 Conference. That is a loss on the road to the Red Raiders. Now, there's no way Oklahoma State can have as bad of a season as they did last year, right? Right? Correct. I don't think Oklahoma State's going to be as bad as they were last year, but I think you're starting to see a little bit of a downslide here with this program. Now, a wise man once told me, and that wise man being myself and a lot of other content creators and a lot of other people that follow college football, never count out Mike Gundy. You just don't do it. Sorry, Mike, I want you to prove me wrong here in this one. I do think UCF, again, going to get a couple conference wins. It's the nature of the Big 12. And I do think there's a little bit more talent on this program to be able to win some of these games, right? I don't know if they're going to be able to go on the road and pull off some wins, but I think they get some wins at home, and UCF is a team that thrives off of their home field advantage. They will beat Oklahoma State, but they falter to BYU. I know the whole Jake Retzlaff situation. He is gone, transferred out, and there's going to be a new quarterback. There's still a lot of good defensive pieces. They still got a lot of good offensive weapons that can create some big plays for whoever plays quarterback this season, and most importantly, as long as Kalani Sitake is that head coach, BYU has staying power in the Big 12 Conference, and they will still be competitive no matter who is playing quarterback for them. So that is a loss to BYU, meaning UCF goes 5-7. Honestly, to me, based on the situation this program is in, this is not an absolutely terrible year. But when you look at everything surrounding, questions have to be answered about Scott Frost. Does he get back to his old coaching stuff? Does he not let the Nebraska stint affect him? And is he, boom, ready to get back in business in Orlando? Defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, what are you made of this season? What's the offensive coordinator going to bring? How does the talent mesh together? Who starts where? What does the culture look like? There's just so much unknown and so much change that's going to be going on in this UCF program. We'll see again about Scott Frost. Maybe give him a little bit of time to try to build this culture and program back up. You do have a pretty difficult slate, guys. I can even see UCF going as low as even 2-10. Now 3-9, I think, is a bit more of a realistic low. But if everything meshes well and fits together, and this is the Scott Frost led team that we've seen UCF perform in the G5 ranks, no reason why, with the craziest of the Big 12, they can't be a surprise in 2025. That's all for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See y'all in the next video. Goodbye.